felt lonely even when you're surrounded by people? Or found yourself in relationships and friendships that leave you feeling drained instead of understood? Maybe you're trying to connect, but the conversation feels shallow and the bonds seem fragile. And deep down, you may be wondering, why is it so difficult to connect with others? I mean, the truth is, most of us were never taught how to build meaningful relationships. And along the way, we develop habits, often without realizing them, that undermine our connections. Sure, we may be polite and present, but somehow something still feels off. If you're new here, hi, I'm Elizabeth, a former United Nations Senior Advisor and the author of the book, Human Skills. In today's video, I'll share with you the 7 habits that might be silently sabotaging your relationships and how you can shift them to build better connections that are not only functional, but fulfilling in your life. Let's dive in. Habit 1, performing instead of connecting. Have you ever gone to a conversation thinking, okay, I need to say the right thing, look confident, sound smart? Yeah, most of us have. A lot of the time, we approach interaction trying to impress rather than actually connect. We think that if we are polished or seem put together, people will like us more. But here's the truth. Real connection doesn't come from performance, it comes from presence. In my book, Human Skills, I talk a lot about the power of authenticity. When we try to perform, we actually disconnect from ourselves and from others. We create distance, even when our intentions are good. So what can you do instead? Just be real. It's that simple. Show up as yourself, flaws, quirks, awkward poses and all. That's what people really connect with. Not the version of you that you think they want, but the version that's honest. Habit 2, listening to reply, not to understand. Have you ever been in a conversation when you realize you were just waiting for your turn to talk? Maybe someone is sharing something with you, and in your head you're just thinking, what should I say next? Or, oh gosh, I've got a story just like that one. Or, here's what they should do. We've all done it. Most of us think we are good listeners, but more often than not, we are just waiting and preparing for our response. But real connection, it asks for something deeper. It asks us to listen, to understand, not just to respond, to actually tune in with both our ears and our hearts. Because when someone feels truly heard, including yourself, by the way, they also feel seen. And that feeling, that's the foundation of any meaningful relationship. So how do you shift this habit? Start simple. The next time you're in a conversation, let the other person finish and then pause. Like actually wait 3 seconds before jumping in. I know, it might feel a little bit awkward, just as you've seen here, but that little pause, it says, I heard you. It shows that you are not just waiting to talk, you are taking in what they have said. It creates space for understanding. And who knows, you might even hear something you would have otherwise missed. Habit 3, avoiding difficult conversations. Oh, this one really hits home because I used to be that person, by the way, the one that thought the best way to deal with a tough situation was just to, not deal with it. Whether it was a friend or a partner taking me for granted or a colleague or even a boss crossing the line, I thought staying quiet was the safest option. And in that moment, it does feel easier, right? But here's the truth. Avoiding a difficult conversations might protect you short term, but long term, it creates distance and a whole lot of internal frustration. Here's what I've learned. You can have the hard conversations without things falling apart. Imagine that. In my book, Human Skills, I share ways to approach these tough talks in a way that actually strengthen your relationship and not break them. Because respect, it isn't about avoiding the truth. It's about having the courage to face it with empathy. So if you want to shift this habit, just start by acknowledging that it's uncomfortable. Of course it is, and that's okay. Then lead with curiosity instead of blame. Ask questions. Stay open. Hard conversations don't have to be harmful. They can actually be healing. Habit 4, assuming your experience is universal. Okay, let's be real. Have you ever said something like, I don't get how you don't get it? Yeah, same here, I've done that. That frustration, it usually comes from this habit right here, assuming that everyone sees the world the way that we do. The truth is, they don't. We've all lived different lives. We come from different backgrounds and cultures and identities and experiences, and all of that shapes how we see things. So when we assume our perspective is the perspective, or even just the normal one, we unintentionally shut down connection before it even has a chance to grow. In human skills, I talk a lot about something called cultural awareness, and it really comes down to swapping our judgment for curiosity. So next time you feel that disconnect, instead of pushing your own agenda or your own point, try asking, what might I not be seeing here? How does this land for you? These are simple questions, but they open the door to real understanding. Because in a world as diverse and interconnected as ours, meaningful relationships depend on our ability to honor different perspectives. Habit 5, mistaking niceness for respect. You know how we are taught to be nice, such as, smiling at your coworkers, saying great job in meetings, or sending that friendly Slack message with a smiley face. That's all nice and there's nothing wrong with it. Being kind is great. But here's the thing. Niceness isn't the same as respect. Niceness is easy. It's comfortable. But respect, now that takes intention. It takes action. Especially in the workplace, niceness can actually hide exclusion. We might be polite in meetings, but are we actually listening to everyone? We might smile and nod, but are we sharing power, inviting real input, making space for people whose voices usually get overlooked? In my book, Human Skills, I talk about how respect isn't always about agreeing or keeping the peace. It's about recognizing and honoring someone's dignity, even when it's inconvenient, even when it challenges us. So how do you shift this habit? Go beyond courtesy. Ask yourself, who's not being heard here? Am I creating space or just keeping things comfortable? Because real respect means stepping up, not just smiling at someone. Habit 6, talking more than you ask. Ever catch yourself doing all the talking in a conversation without even meaning to? Maybe you're excited to share a story, or you jump in with advice before the other person even finishes. We've all been there. But here's the thing. When we constantly take space in a conversation, even unintentionally, we are sending a message. What I have to say matters more than what you are feeling or experiencing. And connection, it can't thrive in that kind of space. It needs balance. One of the most generous things you can do in any relationship, whether it's with a friend, a partner, or a coworker, is simple. Ask more than you speak. In other words, replace advice with curiosity. Instead of, here's what you should do, try, how are you really feeling about this? Instead of jumping into fix, just sit back and really listen. Because most of the time, people don't want quick answers. They just want to feel heard. Habit 7, valuing efficiency over humanity. You've probably had one of those days. You've had back-to-back meetings, emails are piling up, and someone stops to talk to you, and your first thought is, I don't have time for this. Especially in the fast-paced work environments, it's easy to fall into the mindset of, let's just get it done. But here's the problem. When we start treating people like tasks or interruptions, even unintentionally, we send the message that their feelings don't matter. And over time, that erodes trust, it chips away at connection. The best leaders, the best team members, the best friends, they are not just efficient, they are also emotionally present. So how do you shift this habit? You slow down. Seriously, even just for a few seconds. Ask, how are you feeling really? Before jumping in with the next thing. Pause, check in, because relationships don't run on deadlines, they run on care, empathy, and your presence. In summary, if you saw yourself in any of these habits, trust me, you're not alone. We've all picked up ways of relating that don't serve us. We can unlearn them. That's the beauty of all this. And here's the other good news. Human skills are just that. They're skills. That means they can be learned, they can be practiced, they can be strengthened, one conversation at a time. If this video gave you something to think about, go ahead, like, subscribe, and maybe share it with someone who's also trying to build better, more meaningful relationships. And if you're ready to go deeper, check out my book, Human Skills. It's full of real stories, practical tools, and simple ways to start showing up fully for yourself and for the people around you. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.